Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is turning pending properties into profit. If you know anyone who's been in the real estate industry for a while, they will tell you that pending properties fall out of contract all the time. Many times, the buyer will get an inspection and realize that there is too much work needed, so they walk away from the contract. The problem for the seller is that now they must disclose what was uncovered in that inspection report. Other reasons a contract might fall through could be financing, a clouded title, probate issues, or something that happened to us recently. A buyer simply got cold feet and walked away from the contract. Now, a little known trick to turn pending properties into profit is to email the realtors. Some MLS systems have a search feature where they can pull a list of pending properties. You also want to include a keyword search like as is or handyman special to find distressed properties. All you need to do is send an email with the title, pending listing for 123 Main Street. Then in the body of that email, let the listing agent know that if the property falls out of escrow, you would like an opportunity to submit an offer. If the numbers work for all parties, you will also use that same realtor to list on the back end. Now, what realtor doesn't like making double commissions? Come on now. Now, while this may take time, it's a free form of marketing to find motivated sellers that want to avoid having to relist their property. So, what are you waiting for? Go out there and find some pending properties and turn them into profit. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Jamie Miller. Jamie has been a motivational speaker for over 10 years. Most recently, he's created a course called Conscious Communication. The coolest thing about Jamie is he has a passion for leaving everyone better off than he found them and how he gets them to think about communication. So welcome to the show, Jamie Miller.
Happy to be here, Jen. Thank you for having me on.
And as I'm going through that badassery bestowment, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to correct my email immediately. I know it because I had the honor of sitting in one of your webinars yesterday, and it was all about emails. And so literally I'm reading it and I'm going, oh my goodness, I hope I'm saying everything correctly here. So welcome, Jamie. So happy to have you on the show.
Happy to be here. There was definitely one thought.
Give me a thought. Fix that for me.
Okay, so when the people are writing to people, I would like the opportunity to speak with you, or the assumption that realtors, who doesn't like a double commission, instead of using the words, I would like the opportunity. All right, that would be them emailing, I would like the opportunity to meet with you. Be like, let's say that this is something that can be done. Would you see a benefit in meeting with me? All right, you twist it. The words I want, anytime anyone says the words I want, they should be realizing that's not taking consideration the other person and what they want. It's something, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's so funny because I wrote that badassery bestowment before I listened to your webinar, and I didn't even think about it. And now I'm reading it and going, I just wrote those words down on a piece of paper of, would you find value in, presenting it that way. So thank you for saying that.
It's just a simple tweak, and put it into a question for the other person to actually read the question and be like, yes, I would see a benefit in that, rather than them thinking, I really care about what this other person wants
Yep.
in life. So that was just one example.
Well, thank you. And I threw you in the deep end right before we start. So tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about Jamie. You have a fabulous accent. So where are you from?
If I was joking and trying to get a laugh from people, I would just say Texas, secondly Alabama. All right. No, so I'm originally from London, and I've been living in America now since '96. I'm a proud American. I say I drive a truck, so I'm really like, yay, America. And
And you live in Orlando.
I live in Orlando, Florida. Yes.
And
And absolutely love life.
I love Orlando. I lived there for 5 years. I went to college there. I worked for the Rat, Mr. Mickey, briefly, but it was such a great experience. I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for being here. And folks who are listening, I got to talk to Jamie for a few minutes before we started this. So I am so excited for this interview. So you have this new program called Conscious Communication. Tell us a little bit about that. And how does that apply to real estate investors?
Okay, so the concept of conscious communication is basically having an understanding not just on what we're saying to people, more importantly, why are we saying something to people, and understanding things that we can avoid saying that are turning people off, and understanding things we can actually say that would actually get the results that we're looking for. When it comes to real estate investors, the hope is during this podcast, I'll teach an example of something that pretty much every real estate investor, even the most savviest ones that I know, they're asking one of the most amateur questions. And when I teach a lesson, they're just like, oh my goodness, like it makes so much sense what you're sharing, Jamie. And I've been going out there and I've been asking this question of people, and it's not serving me. So the goal is to, obviously communication, we can agree, Jen, it transcends every scenario on the planet. Today's podcast, I'll definitely plan on alluding to where real estate investors might acknowledge, I'm doing this. Oh my God. Yeah, I can totally see what. So it's just being more conscious, aware of what we should be asking in the best questions, and what questions we should be avoiding.
Well,
Awesome.
let's dive in right there, because
Okay.
I asked for some bullet points here, and normally people who are interviewed, they give me a explanation, but you literally put just words, and I can't wait to dive into this. So the very first one is bad questions. What are bad questions? And I know what you're going to say, so fix it for me. Jump in.
Right. Okay. So let's just dive straight. I like this diving straight in mentality. So let's go. There are plenty of bad questions out there. You've got real estate investors listening, so I'll just go straight to real estate investment. You go and you speak to someone who's selling their property. As a real estate investor, if you're savvy, you're going there with an idea of what you're going to make an offer on this property. You were talking about, obviously, there's a inspection and there's different things that can come up. However, before you go and do all that, you've got an idea of what this property, what would put some money in your pocket on the back end. And please God, you're ethical and it takes care of the seller, and everyone's a win-win situation. One of the most amateur questions that I'm going to say, let's say 99.9% of real estate investors, because I always ask them, what do you ask someone when they say this? A seller says, I think my house is worth X. And every real estate investor on the planet, here's what they say. How did you come up with that price? Right? Or where did that come from?
I'm laughing because I say this all the time. And it's one of my questions on my interview sheet that I have on a clipboard that I say, what would you like for your property? What number did you have in mind? And then, yeah.
Okay, so let's digest. Now everyone's probably like, well, Jen, I'm doing the same thing. What's this guy know that we don't know? That and it's just for people to logically think about this. The more likely expert in this transaction is going to be you, the investor, rather than the seller who's got some emotional attachment to this property. I've got this bad debt, I've got this divorce, I've got this probate, I've got this, I've got that. They've got this figure in mind that seems ideal to them to pay off all their bad debts, or whatever the scenario may be. They come up with a figure in mind for their house of what they think it's worth. you're the expert because you probably, if you've done things correctly, you've been educated, you go there with an idea as to what the breakdown is of things. Am I correct, Jen? You're nodding your head, yes.
Totally
Jen,
correct.
then,
So
okay.
we go through comps and we determine what's called the ARV, which is the after repair value of what we can get for the house. And then I back it up from there. So keep going.
Okay. So you've done all this homework and you go along to a seller who's not done all their homework and they say, I think my house is worth X. And as an investor, you're now asking someone who's not the expert, how did you come up with that price? And that's a question. There's a formula that whoever asks the questions is leading the direction of that conversation. You have now given someone the ability, because you asked the question, to now justify to you a price point in their head that's got no actual bearing on the actual numbers. And you have no choice, if you're going to be a decent human being and communicator. Listening is one of the key skill sets to learn. And conscious communication, to add, is more about what are we listening to? Are we listening to reasons why someone should do what we want them to do? Or are we listening to reasons why someone shouldn't do what we're looking for them to do? And every real estate investor is asking, how'd you come up with that price? And it's asking a question now, where that person now you're adding fuel to a fire that didn't need to be done. So now you're probably might be thinking, like you said earlier, like, well, Jamie, what would you do, rather than saying, how did you come up with that price? And for any of your listeners, I can share, would that be valuable for me to share what it would be an alternative, Jamie?
Absolutely. I just looked down so I could flip over my pad here and write down word for word what you're about to say. Go ahead.
Right. So the idea is, in an argument, you can use these words, by the way, in any argument, in any situation where someone says something you don't agree with, you can say these words. All right. And then I'll walk through and I'll break it down. So the first thing I would say, I get it. I get it. All right. And then I'll pause. I could see where at this moment in time, you could be thinking that way. All right. You're not agreeing with them. You're not disagreeing. You're just saying, I get it. I can see where you could be thinking that way. There's something around your house that I haven't had a chance to share with you yet. Is it okay if I share something with you? So it's a breakdown. So all you're doing is nullifying. They've said they think their house is worth X, and you're just buffering before you get a chance to share your thought process. You're going to say, I get it. I can see where you could have that thought process at this moment in time. There's something around your home I haven't had a chance to share with you yet, or your house. It could be house or home, depending on what language you want to use. If I'm doing investment, by the way, I'd more likely use house. And I'll tell you why. If you use the word home, they're more attached to it.
Correct.
All right. So if you're consciously thinking about it, so there's something around your house I haven't had a chance to share with you yet. And then you're going to do what's called a permission-based question. Is it okay if I share something with you? And then when they say yes, because now you haven't asked, how do you come up with that price? You've basically listened to them say it, and now you get permission to share your thoughts. Then you're going to throw out these words. And very rarely do I share statements, Jen, and you know this, but if I'm ever going to share a statement, the statement comes with a statement, then followed by a question. I would say, hey, I pride myself on being a professional when it comes to doing this. And then a question, and it's got the most powerful word. And we talk about power words, by the way, which I'll talk about today as well to break down. Would you believe that I've done this a number of times? Simply asking, would you believe I've done this a number of times? If they say yes in their heads at all to that question, Jen, and they do believe you've done it a number of times, subliminally what's going on in their head is, I probably should listen to this person because they've done it a number of times. And I'll be like, hey, just so you know, are you like me? Do you value your time? No one in the world, I've never had someone say to me, no, I don't value my time. So you say to them, would you believe I've done this sometimes? Now, are you like me? Do you value your time? They're going to say, yes, great. Just so you're aware, I didn't just come here today with my own opinion. I had a whole team of people make sure so that when I came along here today, you do want to get out of this situation very fast, correct? You can even click your finger. You do want to get out of this situation very fast. And they're going to say, yes, I came here today looking at everything that's taken place in a very short radius of where we stood in order to make sure that this can get done fast. This is the number that we came up with. right? And notice I'm saying we, even if it's you by yourself. Can you see how it's more powerful if you're not just opinionated, just single Jen? It's actually like you've got you're professional, you've got your contractors, your inspectors, you're everyone that you need in your back pocket. So it will allude to the person that you know what you're doing. And then you have to end with a question. Now that I've just shared all that with you, can you see where this number actually does make a lot of sense to you? And you're more likely to get an engagement of a yes from that seller based on that approach. But it's what it does is it doesn't give them the ability to justify and argue, because here's what happens. If you ask the original question, how do you come up with that price? They then share for a period of time, selling themselves on it, selling you on it. If you don't agree with them, you now only have one option. You've got to tell them where they're wrong. All right. And that's more of an argument. So,
well, that is all. That's all we needed. That was such a that my hand is cramping from writing that. It took me 3 pages to write all that down. Jamie, that is gold right there. Gold, because I do exactly what you just said. I have done my homework prior to going to the property. I know that the neighbor across the street sold their house for X amount. I know that they had 1,000 more, 1,000 square feet more than that property than the one I'm looking at. I know that they had a totally refinished kitchen, but I'm ready for that person to say the same number as the house across the street, where I can then negate it. And that's exactly what you just said. And that causes conflict. And I mean, what gold you just said. So thank you for that. And your next bullet point here is oversharing. Am I oversharing too much right now?
No, oversharing would be you going into a place and just telling them everything that you've ever done for everyone, all right? And having that think that the person values that information. When we make statements, we never know that someone values it. I could say, I've got tons of people from all different industries as clients. If it doesn't matter to the person in front of me, it's irrelevant. And in fact, when we overshare, it means that more likely people are going to say, well, if I don't want that particular service, can I get it for less? All right, it's like realtors. The realtors who get asked, will you accept less than 3% commission? For any real estate investors who are also realtors in there, which can happen. If they're ever getting asked, will you accept less than 3% commission? What that tells me is they haven't got someone in front of them to believe that that person can help you and value you. Right. And those are 2 power words that we can also talk about today, believe and value. But to go to, what was the question there?
So I'm reading your bullet points here. And the first one was bad questions.
Oversharing.
Yeah. And then we went through that. And then I started oversharing what I do. So that's why I thought. So.
No, it's great. Can I just give a wax on, wax off moment so people can really digest it? Okay. Just so you know, Jen listened to me yesterday. Wax on, wax off is when Mr. Miyagi's telling Daniel's son to wax on, wax off, like the cars. And Daniel's like, what's this got to do with karate? And then by the end of the movie, it had everything to do with the way he defended himself. I'm going to tell you about an experience I had when I go to LA. Everyone loves a story, all right? You'll relate. So whenever I used to work out in LA Fitness, I would go to the salesperson at the end of the workout just to see what they would say. And I'd be like, hey, I'm thinking of checking out Planet Fitness down the street. And here's what they would immediately do. Planet Fitness doesn't have the swimming pool. It doesn't have the racquetball court. It doesn't have the basketball court. It doesn't have the aerobics room with the punching bags. And all I'd say back to that person is, thank you for sharing all that. Now you've got me thinking I'm overpaying for my membership here. Why? I don't use any of those things. So hopefully your audience, anytime they share anything that they think someone should love, if it's not something they value, they're going to try and get money for less. They're going to try and say, can I get it for less? All right. Even though we think we become so proud in what we've achieved in life. All right. The idea is, in order to get what you want from life, find out the one thing that person in front of you values more than anything in the world and show them where you deliver on that one thing, and forget sharing all the other stuff that you think is bonus on top of that, because we're actually hurting ourselves by oversharing that information. So hopefully that lesson hits. Again, like, people may have to listen back to that to really absorb that lesson, Jane.
I love that. And another thing you mentioned yesterday was giving compliments and making that person feel good and doing praising. And so can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, I've actually experienced this personally. We love praise more than we do money. We genuinely love praise. The only caveat that I would add for this particular lesson is when you're a real estate investor and you're praising someone for something, the praise you've got to give has got to be pertinent to the actual sale, right? It's not someone praising, oh, I love your hair, or I love your shoes, or I love that. It's actually giving praise to, you could give them praise for making a decision to speak with you, like it's a great thing. Hey, you like me, you make them the same as you like me, you want to make the best decision for yourself. I think well done. I think you're taking this very seriously. The fact that you're meeting with me right now, do you know what I mean? Like, means that you are definitely putting yourself in a better position than a lot of other people who don't do this. Like, or if you can praise the house, this house has got tremendous bones, like something that is pertinent to the actual business you're looking to achieve in that moment.
Wonderful. Thank you. So another one of your bullet points is building rapport.
Building rapport, very important, is the foundation of any relationship. It's how I can be from England and get someone very quickly to feel like we are the same. And they
because you have a truck. It's because you drive a truck.
I think the easiest way I can explain it to people is if you don't know someone. So Jen, let's say I've never spoken to you before. The way I'm going to build rapport is use the words "you like me" in a question. And you don't have to use "you like me," guys. Everyone can say, are we on the same page? Do we share the same beliefs when it comes to X? If I don't know someone, you go general. All right. So I brought on a client earlier this year that I met at my gym. All right. Just 7 a.m. in the morning. Are you like me when you're in this gym? Do you like to have a lot of fun at the same time? They said, yes, we are the same. They don't. All right. It's going general. If you, the more specific you can get in your rapport build, the more elevated that your relationship goes, and it's more likely you can bring on a client or get a property within one meeting based on how specific you get. For instance, if I went to UCF, all right, I'd say,
Knights.
All right, I can now make, all right, if I'm doing a virtual, we're doing a virtual talk right now. If I had never spoken to you before, I'd say, hey, Jen, I could be wrong. Yeah, are you like me? Is purple that's my favorite color. Is purple your favorite color?
No.
Okay. Well, just behind you, what's on your screen? You've got a purple cup there, for instance. All right. Or is it lavender?
It's like it's a sparkly lavender.
Sparkly lavender. Okay. I just bought some lavender for my girlfriend as a de-stress scenario, Jen. And look at you nodding your head, yes. Yep. All right. Oh, okay. So, or I could ask you about your board behind. What's all the drawer? Is that like a vision board?
I have 2 vision boards back there. Yes.
Okay. So you know what you'll love. You can't make it out clearly, but I have my vision board. It's on my phone too. So it's the first thing I see all the time. And now I can get very specific. Hey, would you agree? You like me? Not everyone in the world has a vision board, right? So you like me, we buy into that notion of doing a vision. And look at your head nodding. I now know I'm getting more specific. We are getting more the same as each other. All right. And that, if people can start understanding that people buy from people more they feel the same as, that's the foundation of any communication.
I love that. I love it. Can you give us some nuggets if we are walking a property with a homeowner? It's something that we could build rapport over?
One of the things I would be always open to, if your viewers don't notice this, I don't know if they're actually going to see the physicality of our motion and you're sharing it through the microphone. But one of the things I'm very intuitive with is watching when I'm saying something. What is the body language of the person in front of me? And if they're smiling, or like you're just doing right now, or you're nodding your head yes, sometimes you can NLP, body language NLP, I can get you to nod your head yes just by simply nodding my head yes.
Yep.
All right. So as you're walking around the home, be engaged. If you feel like there's something around that home that reminds you of your childhood, and then you start sharing that, be looking at the person's body language. See, and even you could say, hey, you know what? As I was sharing this, I couldn't help yet notice, and I could be, and say you could be wrong. So it gives you I could be wrong. You look like you were thinking something. What were you thinking? And all of a sudden, they're now going to start sharing stuff that's probably positive towards that. Your rapport is going from here way up high as a result of that play. If you want, here's a good one that I don't typically teach on these platforms. Hopefully people like it. You want to sell the big picture in order to get the small picture sold. What am I saying here? If I'm a realtor, for instance, and I know that, go with me on this, for an investor, it could work too. When I'm let's say I was a realtor, I was walking through a home, I'm looking at this, I'm doing a preview, I would turn around to the person and say, what is something that you absolutely love in this home that you have to have and want to see in the next home that I'll help you buy? All right. All it's doing is it's making the listing agreement, which is the main thing that you're selling during that meeting. That's a formality. Oh, the listing, what is something that you want here in the future that I will help you to find? So now with an investor, I'm an investor. The idea, Jen, is what comes next? Like if you can show the investor you're thinking about something that comes next, all of a sudden it makes this is a formality. You're going to do your business with me. I'm going to get you out of this sticky mess. It's like, what can I help you do next? And just as a wax on, wax off moment, hopefully people can go with this. I get lots of security in a relationship when I know. So for instance, we're in October now. I've got a vacation booked for December, all right, with my girlfriend. I don't worry about today. I'm already good. Like, we've got a good situation going. It's that the element is selling the big picture. When you sell the big picture, it makes the small picture, what is actually important for that moment, a more of a formality. Is that resonating with you? Your face is like, I'm trying to picture if you're picking up what I'm putting down, so your audience can pick up.
It does. And one thing that I do, I hope I'm not oversharing, is I will say, well, when are you looking to move? And so it kind of plants that seed of, when I write up the contract later, what date would you like as your closing date? And so that's kind of, is that what you're getting to? Or
yeah, that's okay. Yes. Another thought process, just as a wax on, wax off moment. Anyone who's ever gone to punch a bag in a boxing lesson, cardio boxing lesson, they always tell you, don't punch the face of the bag. Imagine you're punching through the face of the bag, the wall behind the bag. All right. The idea is forward think your scenario. Whatever you can do to basically elicit to them that you're with them for the long run. So it makes that short meeting, that 15-minute meeting, that 20-minute meeting, more of a formality in that seller's head.
Perfect. I love that. So the last bullet point you have here are power words. Let's hear some power words.
Okay, so I've already used the most powerful word on the planet in our dialogue, which is the word believe. Everyone in life will do what they believe, when they truly believe it. If you ask someone, do you believe that I can help you get out of this situation? And they give you an emphatic yes, it makes it very seamless then to ask for the business and say, the next step is so simple. All right, and so your audience can understand, people will do anything they believe. They'll invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college based on a story they've told themselves that they believe. When they get out, they're set up. People go to places of worship on a weekend based on what word? Belief, right? I will not bring on a client until I've asked them, do you believe that I know things around communication that can help you to bring on more business for yourself? When I get a yes, it makes asking for the business seamless. I don't know so much about the investors, and I'm sure there are some people find that they're good at creating the meeting. They go along to the property, they talk to the person, they're doing a discovery, they feel like they've got these questions that they ask. And then they make asking for the actual deal some monumental thing. Your facial expression is sharing with me now that this is accurate. So the idea is, it shouldn't be like rock climbing where you're grabbing onto this rock and then you've got to leap and grab onto this rock. It should just be a seamless, I go through these questions, I get the answers I need, and then I ask a couple of questions, and then it's like, well, naturally, the next step, this is so simple. And then if there is an objection, it will come up at that point. However, the idea is if I ask someone, do you believe I can help you? Yes. And then I'm going to ask them, What value do you place on this? A low one or a high one? If I said to you, Jen, I already know what the answer is. It's predictability. Jen, what value do you place on being good in communication? A low one or a high one?
Very high one.
Very high one. Great. I make it difficult for you to tell me when I throw out what the investment is. I make it difficult for you to tell me, oh, that's a lot of money. You can't, because I already know, I've gathered information. You went to UCF. As long as I can get you to elicit in your mind, communication-wise, is the things that I taught or teach, can we agree they're not taught at UCF or any college out there? And once you say, I can agree with that, which majority of people do, they can then be like, I'll be like, well, is communication, the things I teach, more valuable to you today for what you're actually doing for a living? And then they nod their head, yes, like you're doing. I'm like, great. So as long as my investment is way less than what the investment was into college, it then becomes a sensible investment. And it's all based around the word believe and then the value. If you say to someone, I'm an investor, what value do you place on me being able to get you out of this sticky situation? You want that person to say, oh my God, it's priceless. I couldn't even put a price on it. Oh, terrific. And then ask for the business. It's just the next step, so simple. We're just going to fill out some paperwork and we'll get you taken care of. Like we'll get you out of the situation.
I love
Does
that.
That make sense? The word believe. And the sweetest little word, just one more word, is the word yet. All right. People use the word yet. Are you using the word yet consciously in any meeting you go to? In every meeting? Or do you?
I don't know.
Okay, so watch this. The word yet is so sweet. There's 3 reasons, all right? The least important reason is no one likes the word but. When anyone gets an argument, no one likes it when they I feel like there's a but coming, all right? No one likes that, yet no one's offended by the word yet. So first off, just substitute the word but for the word yet, all right? On every occasion, you'll confuse people, yet you'll never offend them. Secondly, very important, this is where people love it. Let's say you think that your meeting should take, I've had people where they do meetings that were taking 75 minutes and all of a sudden, just by using the word yet, I've now cut it down for them where it goes to 45 minutes. All right, just by using the word yet. Halfway through to 3/4 of the way through your typical meeting with a prospective seller, turn around to them and say, have you heard and seen everything that you need to see from me yet to feel confident to have me take care of you in this endeavor? Right? If they say yes, all right, you're now not going to be guilty of oversharing, Jen, like we've been talking about, because you can then seamlessly say, oh, okay, terrific. The next part's very simple. We're just going to do a little bit of paperwork. If they say no, it's still perfect, because you can, perfect, what would you need to hear from me in order to feel that sense of confidence? And now you can get back in line with the meeting to find out what's important to them to work with you. The third reason people like the word yet, and this seems to resonate, my sister seems to share that everyone in the world is in what she calls a low depression because of what's gone on in the world. The word yet is how we do self-talk. Conscious communication is not just how we talk with others, how we talk with ourselves. If you said, Jen, I haven't reached my goals for 2021, that's a very negative statement. Watch how your mind tweaks it when you say, I haven't reached my goals for 2021 yet. Automatically your brain goes, you know what? I've still got October, November, December. I can still crack this.
So true.
All right. Just by using the word yet. So that's 2 words. There's a more word, but for the purpose, I don't know how we're doing on time for you, but I can.
Well, I am so appreciative of all these golden nuggets that you are sharing. And there's one thing, especially in our conversation before we started recording, was you were talking about an abundance mindset. And I am working hard on that myself to have an abundant mindset as well. So you are now giving back and you created this program to help people doing this. So tell us a little bit about the program.
The program is multifaceted, Jen. It's funny. I'm actually doing this consciously. If I start sharing all about the program, I'm not really focused on what the individual listener actually cares about and values. Would it be all right if someone, let's say they reached out to you or you wanted to leave my phone number or something of that nature, something I shared today resonated. They're like, oh my God, I'm doing this wrong, or this guy can help me in this facet. I would be happy for them to reach out. And then all I'm doing is proving the practice what I preach and find out what people value, what they want, what they need for themselves, as a lesson. Does that resonate? Because I've got so many different programs, and if I started going on, I would be guilty of not practicing what I preach.
There you go. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And you heard me earlier give a badassery bestowment. Do you have a badassery bestowment you can share with the audience?
Yeah, I would say that this might be a good one. A common question that a lot of people get asked, you can get asked it in a formal networking meeting for business, or you can get asked it at a Christmas party. It can have, like, someone is going to ask you, what do you do for a living? Anytime someone asks you, what do you do for a living, in my opinion, is an opportunity to get a client or to get business. It might be them directly or someone that they know. My biggest opportunity to this day actually came from someone knocking on my front door trying to sell me something from Edward Jones. All right. So the idea is this: understand conscious communication is statements. When we make statements, we don't know if the person in front of us values us. All right. So hopefully everyone resonates. Yeah. If I say an I statement, I do this, that doesn't resonate. Yet all the world of realtors, anytime you go up to a networking, what do you do for a living? I'm a realtor. The ones who think they're being clever, I help people find their dream homes. Real estate investors, I do this for people. Jen, what would be your original, if I came up to you at a networking and I would say, what do you do? And all it says is name badge, Jen. What would be the first thing out of your mouth?
I would say I'm a real estate investor.
Right, I'm a real estate investor. And now everyone who's listening in is like, well, I say that too. Right, so let's address, that's making a statement. We don't know. We've got to literally be like the stars aligned. I'm a real estate investor. Oh my God, I woke up this morning, got out of bed. I'm like, I'm in such a pickle. Like, I need to sell my house. Like, and here you are in front of me as a real estate investor. The chances of that happening are very slim. The main point of when someone says, what do? You have to think of a way of, how do I get this person to want to meet with me in the near future? Or how do I get this person to think of someone that may need my help in this near future? So if I'm a real estate investor and someone comes up to me and says, what do you do? Right, then what do you do? First thing out of my mouth is to build some intrigue. I'll be like, oh my goodness. When anyone asks me that question, it's always so interesting. And you'll see a smile go on the person in front of you. It's like intriguing because it's not an I statement. All right. Then I would say my clients, the people I've worked with, they've shared with me that I help them out of the most like horrendous and terrible sometimes situations that they've ever got themselves into. All right. And so just purely by stating my clients, by the way, Jen, subliminally what's going on in their head is this person is obviously working with a lot of people. Like, right, they get paid for their services because you're saying my clients. And just so people can understand it from a communication play, to break it down. If you're my client, Jen, and I get you to talk about me, like at the beginning of this interview, you said, oh my goodness, guys, we're in for a treat. We've got Jamie Miller along here. I spoke to him for a few minutes. That's way better than me saying about myself. I've got third-party edification. You're edifying me to your audience. So your investors who are listening in, if they've got someone at an event that can talk about how great they are or what they help, that's more elevated. The only way we can elevate ourselves is to start with the words, my clients. You're talking in a third party. All right, my clients have shared that what I do is really important, or it's helped them out in the most horrendous situations. And then I would phrase a question. Whatever your niche is, let's say it's divorce. I work with, would you say divorce is very prevalent? The chance, you've got a 50-50 chance that the adult in front of you has gone through a divorce, sometimes several times. All right. I've been through divorce. Do you know what I mean? Like, so would you say divorce? Yeah, I've been through one. Okay. Would you agree with me? Divorce is not the most financially friendly thing in the world. And they're going to be like, yeah, okay. What would you say is the biggest asset that people always have the biggest problem with when it comes forward? They're going to say the house. It doesn't have to take a rocket scientist, Jen, great. I help people to get out of that particular situation. If you were me and you're at an event like this and you knew you could help people in that environment, would you be wanting to build relationships and create relationships with someone facing that? What are they going to say? Just like your head, yes, yep. Great. Well, then naturally you're going to understand the question. Are you currently going through anything where you need someone like me in your life? Or naturally, would you know someone who currently needs me in their lives? And that's a clear-cut question as to what you want to see take place next. And they're going to be like either yes or no. If they say no, great, fine. If they say no at this time, be like, you know what? In order to make this productive, it would seem like it makes sense. Would it make sense for us to exchange details so that in the event that that happens, I could be someone that you could think of? Would that make sense? That yes, great. And now you get on with your scenario. And obviously for me, for my business, I have my way of always getting a meeting from someone. The second someone says, what do you do? It's get a meeting. All right. And it's not about an I statement and let me tell them all these things that I can do for them. So hopefully that lesson hits home for people.
I can't wait to edit this podcast so I can slow down everything and write out just a script to keep in my back pocket at all times. You are so amazing, Jamie. I totally appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you so very much. I can see why Noah and Christy are good friends, why they just look up to you. And so thank you. I appreciate it. The second half of the show is what makes Jamie Miller a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. So the first letter is B. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
The biggest difference for me was A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, hands down. Best book. That's the conscious. That's the book that adds the consciousness part to my course. It's A New Earth. The lessons in that book, it completely changed my life from 2018.
Wow. I will definitely have to check that out. I do see a lot of Eckhart quotes around and everything. I have not read a full book, so I will put that on my list. Thank you for sharing that. The first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would have to say for what I'm doing. And the funny thing is, I couldn't actually tell you the exact source of this advice. Yeah, I'll share with you. It was burn the boats.
Burn the best boats.
Advice, burn the boats mentality. What that meant was for me in my business, and for anyone who's entrepreneurial, they're going to register this. Being an entrepreneur is a very lonely journey. All right, it can be. And I burn the boats is basically there's no plan B. You're looking at someone, you're talking to someone right now, Jen, that May of 2019 figured out who he wanted to really be when he grew up in life. And there was no like, oh, I can always go back and do this if this doesn't work. There was no mentality. This is either going to kill the world or I'm going to end up under a bridge. And I'm happy with either option to move forward in life. Thankfully, it didn't. I'm not under a bridge. All right. So, but I think if people live that mentality in their one life they have to live, all right, and they can look up on Google what burn the boats means in terms of it was basically discoverers when they found a land, they burnt the boats. They were either going to thrive there or they were going to die there. And that's a mentality that's really, that's the way that it really helped me to move forward and achieve what I've achieved for myself, Jen.
I love that. No plan B. Very, very good. All right. The D in badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
You know, it's funny because you talk about abundance. Most people sell on pain, right? Like, where is there a struggle? Where is there a problem? Let me create a solution. I'm the opposite. I have a mentality like, so it's, I'm more like chasing for the, you know, it's very, if I was being like everyone else, I could say the what you want, when you want, how you want. My vision board, if I look at it, it's all about travel. Jen, I've never regretted 1 cent I've ever spent on any travel. It doesn't matter how much it's been. I'd spend a fortune. Every penny I earn, I don't care if it goes on traveling somewhere. Don't regret 1 cent. So my whole life, so it's always having the ability to, what drives me is memories and experiences of, and obviously I love my kids to death. I'd be like, I'm not trying to take away from my relationship with my kids and stuff. But everything I want to do with my kids that I really enjoy is centered around travel too. So I would have to say travel.
So where was one of your most favorite places that you traveled to?
You know, they say only 7% of Americans have passports. So they're not the most, you can travel in America and do a lot of things here. Like I was born and raised obviously in a different country. So Europe, like in easy access. Funny enough, I'm going back there again next summer. I'd say the trip that's really prevalent for me, it stuck out where I found myself, Israel. is an
Oh,
amazing country
wow.
to visit and see, and I'm going back there again next summer. I mean, there's great places I've traveled to. I love recently this year. I would have to say, for anyone who's never been there, right, and they want an easy place to go, especially in America, like to travel to from America, all right, Negril, Jamaica. All
Ooh.
right, go and stay at the Rock House Hotel in Negril, Jamaica. All right, you're on the cliffs, you're secluded. The food was amazing, and I'm a pretty plain eater, and like even I loved all the jerk chicken and the different seafood and everything fresh, and just an amazing, amazing country and place. So
Thank you for sharing that. I do not have Israel on my list. I have been to Jamaica, but I love that. I love traveling as well and learning and making those memories. So wonderful. All right. The second A is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So, what is a goal you are currently working on?
I tell you what, so it's never abundance is it's never about money. You said that we agreed, like it's not about the money. So my first year in business, 2019 May, my goal was get a dog. All right. And if you know anything about my former life, which you know, fortune builders and different things, it was all around travel. Like every week I was traveling somewhere. So I made my first goal, not money, get a dog. If I get a dog, it means that I'm not ever jumping on airplanes for anyone. That meant that burning the boats mentality worked and so I've got Bruce, he's somewhere around here, all right, my dog.
Bruce.
Now my goal is, so next, like this year, 2 years into my bit, I took the whole of July off. I went driving around the country to Kentucky with my daughter Ruby. For some reason, Kentucky was a place that I think she's like an old soul. She wanted to go there. So we drove from Orlando through Georgia, like Tennessee, Nashville. Like we did a whole long drive. And then I went away for the whole of July, I went away. So my goals are always centered around do a trip where I never look at the right side of the menu. I don't have to. And it's, you know, and and starting as I mean to go on. So for instance, I know we talked about emails, we talked about cold calls. I don't get any business from cold. The only business I get from cold calling is when I spend one morning of a year doing cold calls, just so when I teach my clients what to do, I can illustrate what I did that built results. So I'm practicing what I preach, but it's living a life that's authentic to yourself. All right, I would say, and never do it. So this, for me, I'm working technically right now, Jen. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Right.
Like I'm not having to convince myself of this. There might be someone who listens into this and like, this guy can help me. Have I really worked hard to achieve that? No. So and I'm not gonna, you know, it's the 20 years that go into learning the stuff to get yourself to a place that you can do that scenario, Jen. But my aspirations is to actually live authentically and not do. I think if people are doing an activity during their days that they really don't want to do, but feel that they have to do it in order to achieve something, they can find a different way to go about doing it. And that's, so hopefully that was a long-winded answer, Jen.
I love it. I love the oversharing. I appreciate it. The systems is going to be our next one, the first S. And what are some systems that you have in place to help you achieve success?
I would say that's constantly a growing thing. So I shared my biggest opportunity came from someone knocking on my front door. There's no system in that. It wasn't like I just sit on the couch lazily, like be like, oh, like come to me, except that. So systems for me is something that's growing. I follow Richard Branson. He says, say yes to the opportunity, figure out the rest as you go. All right. We both know Noah Harris. He's the most wonderful. I am blessed to have the most wonderful individual on the planet who is just as gifted, maybe, and I could show on here, very gifted at communication, all right, even. And he's developed systems for my business that weren't there a month and a half ago, Jen. And so I would say the systems I'm developing is more of an online presence from that standpoint, because a lot of what I was doing is all through referrals or so I was part of a group called BNI, so there were some systems in play there, I guess. I'm a proponent for systems. I just have been more like, I don't believe that X has to happen in order for Y to happen. All right. I'm more about, can I get someone to believe I can help them? And can I get someone to value what I bring to the table? If I get those two things, I know that I can actually provide a living for myself.
And that Noah Harris, I do have to say, he has provided me with some systems too for my mastermind. So he is amazing. We are truly blessed to have him in our life. The last S in badass is success. So Jamie Miller, what does success mean to you?
I think I might have touched upon this in a component recently. People might look at me, oh my God, Jamie, you're successful, or Jamie, you're in shape, or Jamie. Success for me is such a personalized thing. Like people can look at Noah and Christy and be like, you're so successful, you own all these properties, you could probably not have to do it. For me, success is being able to look in a mirror and actually be honest in a conversation with myself as to, am I doing what I want to do? Am I doing everything and not lie to myself about that? And for me, I know that, there's a lot going on in the world. For me, my dad always, it's kind of contradictory because my dad would say, Jamie, never compare yourself to anybody else. Yet for me, I find so much gratefulness when I'm like, what I get to do. And nothing happens by accident, Jen. Yet my success comes from the notion of like, I'm alive. I'm doing this with you right now. I'm breathing. Like success for me is just being able to get up and be grateful for the day that's about to come. And it's like as cheesy as it sounds, it's like a blank canvas that I can do this and stuff comes into my life as a result of it. And even if it doesn't come directly from this, it comes indirectly from it. And it's that karma and that abundance. You just give value, knowledge. And people were like, that taught me something. That left me better off than you found me.
Yep.
That's success to me.
Well, I am grateful for you spending an hour with me, almost an hour, and it has been very beneficial. I know our listeners are going to want to get more. So how do they find you on your social media or online?
You might think this is brave. I don't. I'm just going to give my phone number. Like, watch conscious communication. The warmer the correspondence that we have, the more chance we have of actually getting business. Can that be agreed? Like if you actually physically get in front of someone, it's easier than email and hopefully your audience. Yeah. So I'm just going to give my phone number. They can either they can text me, they can actually call. All right. If they text me, I'm most likely going to call them. All right. As a result of that. So I'll just give you my phone number. And for those people that resonated, they'll reach out. It's 407-620-7862.
And I miss my 407. I hope you're taking good care of Orlando for me. Jamie Miller, you are fantastic. I appreciate you. Thank you. And that is all. Thanks for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.